coming from the west of Ireland to seek refuge there, and there must have been horrific scenes. But stuff like that, is there records at all in the library, or is it?
Yeah, we're lucky. Like, there were 3 workhouses: Athy, Naas and Selbridge, and sadly there's very little survives for Selbridge, but there are good records for Athy.
Is there somebody actually in these workhouses taking records, do you think?
Oh yeah. No, everything. When it comes down to administration, if you have to hold on to 20 people, then you have to feed them, you have to clothe them, you have to make sure they're still there, where they come from, have they got a disease. So clerks would be really important. There's always a system of administration behind these things.
And the statistics in them places was pretty horrific.
Oh yeah. And I mean, what you're talking about is you could build, you'd have a small, medium and large model to choose from, depending on your size of your area, but that's what everything comes back down to statistics. Think of one thing, and they were horrible places, but if those workhouses weren't in situ before the famine, I mean,
they were in situ before the famine.
They actually come in about 1839. But I mean, as bad and as dreadful as these places were, I mean, what would we have done if they weren't there? And we all have our opinions on the famine, let's face it. One of the other things to think about is when the new Irish state comes into being, one of the first things they do is to close the workhouses.
They were still existing.
Yeah, they were still there in 1922.
As workhouses?
As workhouses, yeah. But once they change over to the Free State, the first thing, because these were...
That was within their memory.
That was within their memory. This is the vile, despicable, horrible place that is this fear, this horrible fear that people had of them.
Yeah. So you're also a musician, Mario. You might as well tell us about your new band that you're just going to release a new album.
Oh yeah, me and you going to start now, are we?
Yeah,
we sing it out there.
I mean, usually, I know you're a musician. Usually, I chat about music, but obviously, it's a bit depressing at the moment for musicians, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, one of the greatest, I suppose, this is it. We've so many friends that are actually struggling at the moment, trying to get see what's going to happen, because I mean, their livelihood wasn't just about playing a few tunes and whatever, but their livelihood of playing to an audience in a gig which was paying in a pub and a hotel and whatever, weddings, all of these things are now up in the air. So there's a real fear, I mean, the danger here is that somebody jumps and they put in a one person DJ or something, and that fair dues, we all need DJs as well, but the era of the live band, the trad session where people sat close to each other, 20 people in a room all playing out tunes.
It's a very worrying time.
It's a really difficult time.
Vaccine.
Yeah, that's what we're waiting on. I mean, really, let's face it, no matter what we're doing now, we're doing everything we can to keep it at bay, to keep it under control, and we're all afraid that there may be another spike. What we need desperately is a vaccine, and then of course we'll be worried about the next time. So we need to learn right now from our experience. Everybody talks about the flu in 1918. We didn't seem to learn a whole lot, did we?
I didn't even know about it, to be honest, very much about it.
It's crazy,
until this came around. And then I looked at the statistics, of course, and it was just like, wow. Yeah. But that was 1918. There was a lot of stuff happening in the world.
Yeah, and what we've got to do, I suppose, now, will we ever be at a stage where we would be caught without any, PPE, anything on site? We need to be ready. We need to have space, and we need to be able to do testing and so on. So
that's the music industry, which is also, of course, connected, as I know myself only too well. At this time last year, I would have been playing on cruise ships that were coming into Dublin in their droves. I would have been bringing people around in the Viking Splash tours.
Yeah. Well, one thing, can I say one thing about music as well? There's a combination. Last year, with the Decade of Commemorations group and Darren Brereton, Creative Ireland, Darren in Prosperous, and what we decided with the Federation of Local History Groups, combination of groups all around the county, and they came together and recorded songs of County Kildare, songs from the Shortgrass.
I was aware of that.
Yeah, but it's a great, what a thing. So you can use the history, you can use it and bring these tunes, and maybe even get the kids again singing them, but so that they wouldn't be lost. That was the point as well.
Yeah, I think songs, sometimes I go to schools and we write songs of the locality, and it's or discover songs. There's nothing like a song that represents your county to give you that sense of place. It's
Absolutely.
as good as a football match,
Even if that Curragh of Kildare was written by a Scotsman.
That's
and whatever.
right.
But I mean, if we want to sum up anything instantly, we turn to that song.
Absolutely,
maybe, you know?
yeah. I remember Christy sang it again. Christy Moore sang it in one of his live Facebook feeds there a few weeks ago, but he also sang it for the Moorfield players when they were playing at the Leinster final there.
Wow.
It was very special.
Yeah.
You played football too, is that right? I was reading up now.
No, I tell you,
you played for Round Towers.
Nobody would remember that. You know, I was one of those lads you'd be playing.
You were Glenn Ryan's handyman. That's what I heard.
I think he used to watch me when he was young. You know, he picked up some of the tips. But I mean, in all fairness, well, I was one of those guys that you turned up for practice all year. You went and you played the early rounds, and if you got anywhere, these other guys came in. They were parachuted in, and they were much more talented.
Round Towers is a big club, isn't
it? Yeah, and it's still going big strong. Tradition. In fairness, I think sometimes the local GAA club will always come in for a bit of stick and whatever, but go by the park, and this is true of Cara and everywhere else, go by on a Saturday morning and see a couple of hundred kids out, and people giving their time, volunteering to make sure those kids are learning, but also that they're safe and they're good, and you learn how to be a better human being if you're mixing with kids and you're playing with other people.
Absolutely.
So that's where the strength lies.
Were you at Crow Park in 1998?
I was actually, yeah,
where
I was up in the stands, and this woman was giving out good-o to me because I was letting her rip, and she was a Galway woman, you know, and obviously things changed. But I remember going into the toilets at half time.
I was in Hill 16.
Were you?
Yeah,
oh man, yeah. But I mean, going into the toilets at half time, and a couple of Galway lads, supporters, turned around. Well, you did well. Fair ball to you, lads. Well done.
Have it kind of thing.
Yeah. Oh no, well done. Yeah, fair ball. It was done and dusted.
I was watching it recently, and I think what I'm going to try and do is for every interview from my podcast from now on, I'm going to say, "Were you at that match?" Because
where were you?
I think there's a great documentary in it.
Yeah. Where were you when JFK?
Exactly, because it was such a huge moment, you know. But I've lost my train of thought.
Well, you see,
I've seen the match again recently, and I think it was on TG Carter or something like that. As a neutral, it was an amazing game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I have to say, and I mean, there couldn't be a Kildare man that wouldn't admit that Galway played out of their skins in the second half. They were pointing from this sideline, you know, where we were struggling to get it over. And in fairness, our guys had given everything, and nobody will ever take away from them. It was just, it's a game of football. Yeah. At the end of the day, someone wins. We had that year, and it was wow.
Special.
Yeah.
I was going to lead from the musician thing into the tourist thing because, as I was mentioned before, the cruise ships were coming in this time last year. This time last year, the Rosa Tralee was last August. We're visiting Kildare town. I was with them, and we were going around Kildare town. Very different world. When do you think the tourism thing is going to kick off again?
Yeah, I think what's happening is they're opening up again. We've the Heritage Centre in Kildare town is now back open, but there's a new VR experience where you can put headsets on. Amazing. See the story of Bridget right in the centre of the town,
right,
Market House. Yeah. But they can't open that up because of the proximity and because of the cleaning of everything. So the cathedral in Kilare, which is a jewel, and this is true of the country, isn't open yet. So I think it's going to be next year before we see the confidence of tourists coming into the country, as well as the actual confidence of the tourist destinations here. I mean, hotels are going to have to do business. They're going to have to look, and they're going to have to open up. Tour operators are going to be looking at how to get people in. But the people who are in charge of, say, the likes of the cathedral and so on, the likes of the heritage centres where you have a small space, they're struggling with how do we actually keep going.
Well, when this podcast goes out, perhaps it'll be more open. And I want you to tell me what people do when they get to Kildare town. Where do they go? 3 places.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely.
If you like.
Well, I mean, restaurants, Hearts and Silk and Thomas, and the coffee shops, all of those. Definitely take a breather, stop there, do that, and move around. Cathedral, if it's open, absolutely.
Not too far away from the town.
It's right in the centre. Yeah. No, it's just waiting for it to open. I mean, you're going to go Round Tower. You can actually climb the Round Tower. Right? It's 1,000.
Like the one at the Hill of Allen.
Oh yeah, but this is as the man says from Kilare, tallest round tower there ever was in Ireland if the original top was on it.
Okay.
But there are only 2 you can climb in Ireland, and that's the tallest one you can climb, right? And it's an original medieval round tower, 11th, 12th century, whatever it was. And then you've got the National Stud, obviously, and that's reopened. Beautiful, absolutely. You've got Fikra's Garden, Japanese Gardens, and the National Stud all rolled into one. Bridget's Well. Find a well.
Seriously though, there's a lot of stuff to see in Kildare town.
Oh yeah, but you got like the ruins of the Grey Abbey, the Black Abbey, beautiful
You got
church.
Dan Donnelly out in Corrigan.
Sure, Dan. I think he passed through Kildare one day as well. We'll claim him. Actually,
Is there any? Can anyone, if you're interested in Dan Donnelly, can you do any? Is there anyone that would bring you out and show you the hollow or anything like that?
Yeah. No, I mean we've put up all his fights and everything online, so you could actually do a little bit of research before you go. But I mean, there is a marvellous guy around Kilare called Jim Kavanagh, and I mean, I'm sure. I mean. Yeah, they could come and talk to us. We'd get them out there. I will say one thing. We're on to the Department of Defence. Who's the new minister? I think it's Simon Coveney again, is it? Or something? The date on the monument is wrong. And I brought it to I brought it to the attention of the department, but they don't want to. I don't think they believe me.
Right.
They say, "Oh, that's a nice story."
And is his arm still in Kilcullen, or is that
no,
move back to
no.
Park?
The family who actually had owned that pub. The Burns still have possession of the arm.
Yes.
So and
it was in Croke Park for a period of time.
Yeah, they would have allowed it. They actually, I suppose, they own the relic or whatever we'll be looking at. And I mean, they're extremely good in making it available. It travelled to the States and so on. As part of the great Irish heroes, sporting heroes thing. But I mean, they are also very mindful of it. So it's in safe hands, excuse the point. Yeah.
So to summarise, just where you've got your Heritage Trail book, don't you? And you've got a book.
Yeah. There's a couple of them, and they're online. There's a Facebook page called Kildare Footprints. You can get it all there.
And is your children's books available on the same website? Or?
I've 3 of them available online, myself and David. Because of the pandemic, we put 3 of them up available. You can just download them.
Where is that?
You'd get the links from I have a WordPress site.
Yeah,
but if you type in Mario Corrigan WordPress, you'll probably find it.
A link
Yeah, great. But I mean, if anybody's interested, I still go into schools and they'd read the book and you'd go in and people still like them, you know. Right. So I don't care whether adults or whatever people want to do, the kids still read them. I will say one thing. There are always very clever kids. There'll always be a couple of people, like one library told me, Mario, 4 of our children, this was in Dublin, have written, books this week. And I'm going, that's great. I'm not worried about the 4. I'm worried about the 40. Okay. You know, whatever it is, the whole class participate. Yeah. And I think that's what we do. Every one of us has something creative to give. Get up off our backside, do it.
And you can't say you don't have a story after this last few months we've had.
I swear to God, use it, you know. Yeah. And I mean, we can do that. I mean, that's what it's about. Sing a song, as you say, write a song, write a play, whatever.
All right, Mario, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Thanks for visiting the village of Cara. Hope you'll come back and visit us again.
Oh, I'm gonna stay here for the afternoon now and write another 2 books, you know.
Produce your passport up in the pub there.
Oh, yeah. Would you let me in?
You'll see. All right, Gurmil Magud, thank you.
Thanks, Owen.
Rosie was born by the roadside, somewhere in County Kildare.
I think it's all over. It is, and Kildare are the champions. Champions for the first time in 42 years.
And it's the red I will repair.
The Cora of Kildare.
Kilare Speaks with Fiorua.